play a little bit of a, I think this one is a true or false related to kratom and 7-hydroxy. So take it
All
away,
right.
Si.
Here we go. Well, some true false questions, and some of these may seem a little straightforward, but it's just to generate some discussion and make sure we round out our topic here. So let's take a look at our first question. Kratom is risk-free because it's natural. True or false?
That definitely false. Yeah, I think it seemed like the plant material back a couple centuries ago was relatively safe, and now that I think people are concentrating these other alkaloids in these products that are readily available, we're seeing the problems that can be produced with the fatalities are out there if you
Sure. And I think there's a public perception sometimes just about
mm,
natural products and, things that come from plants, and that just because it's natural, it must be safer. Whereas that's probably not the case. And we as toxicologists know that there's tons of things out there in nature that'll kill you faster than anything we can create in laboratories. So,
right. That's right. Yeah.
okay, let's go to our next question here. Kratom is approved in the U.S. as a prescription medication. True or false?
Yeah, that's definitely false as well. Kratom is actually not even approved as a dietary supplement like a lot of other herbal products are. And I think a few years ago, there were some manufacturers who submitted Kratom for approval as a herbal supplement, and those have all been declined. So it's not even approved as a supplement.
Yeah, and all those the lack of control and regulation on that level could also fuel the public perception that it's safe and that it's something
Mm.
that's okay to take. So yeah, it all kind of comes full circle. All right, next question. Kratom has been linked to side effects.
Uh, oh, that's incredibly true. Yes, there's been some really severe side effects that we see acutely. There's also been some side effects that come up with chronic users. Damage to the liver has been seen, but the dependence, I think, and the habituation is huge problem that people like Dr. Barr was saying, just people don't realize, that they're going to get into trouble using this chronically.
Right. And with the lack of standard research on products like this and the lack of regulatory control, sometimes there are side effects out there we may not know about until they start to happen, and then we find out about them first at poison control centers, and then we are able to then tell people what those side effects are. But it's not a good system to wait for something bad to happen before
Right.
we tell people that it's a bad thing to do.
Right.
All right, let's go to the next one. Because kratom is natural, it cannot cause addiction.
Yeah, we definitely have addressed that several times, and uh,
It's definitely a false one here. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really again just about public perception, and there may be false perception out there that, again, because it's natural, it's not harmful, and not only that, but could not cause addiction. But there's plenty of natural substances out there that can cause addiction, and this is certainly one of them.
Yeah.
All right, that's the end of our little quiz there. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
Well, that was great. What a fun activity, and very educational. Let's just wrap up with some safety tips, and just talk about some key takeaways related to kratom and 7-hydroxy products. I think one thing we want everyone to understand is just because it's natural doesn't make it safe. Another key takeaway that we've got from our conversation is that these products have been associated with severe side effects, whether it's related to acute or long-term toxicity or even withdrawal as a result of their opioid-like effects. They can cause opioid withdrawal. And because they're opioid-like, they can also respond to, and some people may benefit from, the use of Narcan, also known as naloxone, whenever they have an overdose. So just keep that in mind as well. Lots to know, lots that we're still figuring out around these substances. But certainly we want everyone to be on the same page about the key takeaways that are scrolling at the bottom of your screen there.